We were on the writing staff when the Colbert Report went out to Baghdad actually earlier this year, and so you wrote for Stephen while you guys were out there pretty much. I mean, like, what was that like? Was there a sense of like connecting to the troops, or?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a little nuts. I grew up. My stepfather was in the Air Force, and I grew up in a lot of kind of military environments. And when you're 14 and you live overseas, and you're like all of your classmates, all they want to do is join the Marines. I think when you're 14 and you're me, you kind of get picked on anyways. But so I had this sort of view of like, oh, the military, like a bunch of sort of like big guys who were like, they're gonna stick my head in the toilet after school. But turns out, not once did I get my head stuck in the toilet in Baghdad. Not only that, every single person I met in Baghdad was amazingly sincere and helpful and sweet and kind and good-hearted in a way that just blew me away, because they're like, I mean, I went up there for 5 days and I just did this. They wrote comedy, you know, they have little, and it was in one of Saddam's palaces, but still, it was pretty safe gig. And these are the guys and women who are actually out there fighting, and like we say that here, and it's actually kind of impressive to see the fact that they are actually coming back from like, oh yeah, I did a patrol, they have a big old gun, and they just like were shot at, and like, I'm like, god damn, you guys are awesome. So I have a lot of respect for those guys out there, and it was an amazing experience. I have no idea what Baghdad is like. I have no idea what Iraq is like. I just know what it's like to do a comedy show in Saddam's palace on the army base.
I mean, like, is there are there any interesting like little features you found when you were in Saddam's palace at the time, like a bidet that was like solid gold, or?
Oh, you were so close, my friend. There were bidets everywhere. They were marble with like gold inlay.
Okay.
Saddam's taste was like ran towards like the Real Housewives of New Jersey. It was like very gold flakes and marble and like very like nouveau riche. But it was all like, I talked to one of these guys who was like a kind of a Corps of Engineers guy who was in charge of like physical operations. And he was like, if you look, there's a pillar. We were standing by a pillar. He's like, you get past this marble, it's chicken wire and mud. It's like, Saddam didn't actually have any money. We had all these sanctions, so he just like made this the prettiest thing he could, the cheapest way he could. And there was bidets in every bathroom, and because once the army moved in and they kind of took over, because it was one of the few places in Baghdad where you actually have all the physical, you have toilets and electricity and other things. They looked at the bidets and they're like, And then so if you go into any bathroom in the palace, the bidet is filled with about a dozen, 2 dozen rolls of toilet paper. To them, it's just a toilet paper holder.
It's kind of funny to think of like the guy who was a huge threat to his people, who essentially like, it's kind of, hearing the story about the palace, it kind of makes you think of like, you know, like when you're a little kid and you make a drawing for your parents, and like your parents are like, oh, this is the prettiest thing I've ever seen. That's kind of like the palace he was living in, essentially. It's like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Despite that, completely under the surface, it's nothing but crap.
Yeah. It was like he was like constantly in a Make-A-Wish club. No, Saddam, it's very beautiful. And like he's like terminally ill, and everybody. Well, actually, they were all fearful for him. So that's the comedy right there.
Shit.